Rồi sẽ xóa sai. Ok, hôm nay mình sẽ học đến lesson 6, lesson 6. Mẹ sẽ bật video của thầy giảng nhé, cho con nghe nhé.
Vâng.
Xong lát mẹ sẽ hỏi lại con, ok? Có to quá không?
Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. Now we've been talking a lot about animals, haven't we, in the last few lessons.
Where animals
in this lesson, lesson 6, we're going to talk about where animals live. Okay, so where do all of these animals that we've been talking about, where do they live? In this unit, you will discover different kinds of habitats.
Habitats. Different kinds of habitats. Con nghĩ là where animal lives, con nghĩ là con động vật nó sẽ sống ở những nơi nào?
Động vật sống ở rừng, sa mạc, biển.
Sa mạc à? Có đâu nữa?
Biển này.
Can you speak in English?
Forest,
ocean,
desert, Arctic.
What?
Arctic.
What does it mean, artist?
Arctic is an ice and cold place near the North Pole. Polar bear live in Arctic.
Ok, listen. Con xem bài này thầy giảng xem còn có những cái địa điểm nào mà động vật sống mà mình không biết đâu nhá. Xem câu trả lời của con có đúng không nhá.
Now that's an interesting word there, habitats. Actually, let's get into that right away with the word habitat. So habitat is a place where animals live, where an animal lives.
Habitat is a place where an animal lives. Can you read again?
Habitat. A habitat is a place where animal lives.
Thế là môi trường sống của động vật đúng không?
So a habitat is talking about, the environment, the surrounding. If an animal lives in a forest,
talk about environment. Do you know environment? Surrounding. If an animal lives in a forest. Môi trường sống. Con được nghe hết một lượt nhé.
That's a type of habitat. Or if an animal lives in a desert, that's a different type of habitat, right? We talk about us, do you like to live in the city? That's a type of habitat. Or in the country, that's another type of habitat. So there are many different kinds of habitats. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about different habitats and different words to describe the habitats about where animals live. Okay, let's take a look at a video of a special kind of habitat. What can we say about this habitat? We can see this bird here. Where does this bird live? We can see water here. Looks like maybe a river or a lake. We have a lot of vegetation, plants growing in the background. So we can see that this bird here, this is mama bird, right? These are her babies. What is mama bird doing? She really seems to be caring more about her appearance than about her babies. She's really going fixing her feathers, or maybe she has an insect in there and she's trying to get that insect, I don't know. But anyway, obviously these birds live here. This is their home. This is where the babies hatch. That's where they're growing up. This type of habitat with all the water around and the plants and the trees, we could call that a wetland, okay? It's a wetland. There's another type of habitat we can talk about, and we can see, well, this is a very special looking type of forest here. A forest, of course, is an area where there are many trees, okay? So in a forest, you can't really see very far because there's so many trees. A forest is an area with many trees and plants, but really it's trees that make a forest. Now this is kind of a special forest. This is probably in Northern California where we have these huge redwoods. Okay, it can also be in Australia. They also have very tall trees in Australia. I'm not sure where this picture is from, but this is kind of a special forest, isn't it? We don't really have these kinds of big trees in most forests. Most forests have the smaller trees like this one over here. But a forest is just an area with a lot of trees. Different types of animals will live in different types of habitats.
No,
Forests,
baby.
we'll talk about what kinds of animals live in different areas later on. Okay, so we looked at forests, but there's another type of forest that's a little special, right? It's called a rainforest, right? A rainforest, of course, is different from a normal forest because of rain. It rains a lot, right? So a rainforest is a forest in an area where it rains a lot.
You understand?
Yes. Rainforest is a forest in an area where it rains a lot.
Rain a lot in a rainforest. Yes.
So this type of forest, people can also say it's a jungle, right? Jungle.
Jungle.
Especially if the jungle is in a hot, humid area. That's a jungle. We find jungles in South America and Africa. If it's further north, right, further north, but it still rains a lot, we can still call it a rainforest. Maybe not so much a jungle because the jungle is really hot, but it's a rainforest. And this is a special area where it gets a lot of rain. The plants are really, really thick, and there's a lot of different animals that live in rainforests. The amount of animals and types of animals that live in a rainforest is really great. A lot of different variation, a lot of different species live in a rainforest. Let's take a look at a video here. We can see a video here of a rainforest, and we can kind of see, you know, this vapor. What is this stuff? This vapor, it's like mist. It's so humid there that the water is in the air. We can see it moving around on top of the water here. We can see very, very green, very, very dense, very thick plant growth. And that's what a rainforest is like. So lots of water, lots of plant growth, and it's hot and it's very humid. There's a lot of moisture in a rainforest. Okay, we'll move on. This is a completely different type of habitat.
Yes.
On one side we have rainforest, lots of rain. On the other end, the opposite end, we can have a desert, no rain. Or very, very, very little rain. And we call this, of course, a desert.
Right?
We see a picture of a desert here. Well, one of the more famous animals that live in a desert is a camel, right? Camels live in deserts because they can store their food and water in the hump on their back. So they can survive for a long time without water. And a desert is a place that gets little or no rain.
No rain.
So camels are adapted to live in the desert. They can live in the desert because they have adapted to the climate in the desert, the fact that there is little or no rain there. Okay, so that's a desert. Wow, this is very exciting. We have dolphins here, right? And the dolphins live in the ocean. Of course, you know what the ocean is. An ocean is a very large area of salt water.
Salt. Nước mặn, đúng không? Salt water, gọi là nước mặn.
Water, very important. Because of its fresh water, it's not an ocean, okay? Fresh water, if you have a large body of fresh water, that is a lake, not an ocean, okay? A large body of fresh water is a lake. Like you have in America, you have the big lakes, the Great Lakes. They're fresh water, not salt water. If it's salt water, we call it an ocean. Now, these dolphins live in the ocean. Of course, they live in the water. They're just having fun. That looks like a lot of fun right there, doesn't it? They're just coming out of the water. But of course, they live most of their lives in the water. Okay, very exciting picture. That's an ocean. Okay, we also have a very special type of habitat, and that is called the Arctic. The Arctic. The Arctic is an icy and cold place near the North Pole. The Arctic is in the North Pole. Antarctic is the South Pole. But we are talking about the Arctic here. Polar bears live in the North Pole. Polar bears don't live near the South Pole. Similar conditions, North Pole and South Pole, right? But in the Arctic, it's special. There is no land under the ice. No land. It's just ice. that ice never melts. Oh, some of it does, sure, but most of it never melts right at the top of the North Pole. So this polar bear is walking on ice. Underneath the ice is water, no land. That's how cold it is, that the
Dưới
ice
đó là
stays
nước, đúng
frozen
không? Không có
all
đất.
year round. Now, of course, it shrinks in the summertime and it grows in the wintertime. It does go like this. So some ice does melt, but a lot of it never melts.
Never.
Okay, so that's
Vì nó
very
không tan
interesting.
đâu.
If
Thời
we
tiết
take
nó
a
lạnh
look,
quá, lúc
it's
nào cũng
very
nóng.
cold up there. Can you imagine what life is like for the polar bear there? Does he look cold? He doesn't look that cold. Actually, he's kind of big, right? Polar bears are big animals. But look at the fur on that polar bear.
Fur?
He has a really big
Yes.
coat, a really thick fur of hair.
Thick
And that's
fur.
what keeps him
Tức là rất là
warm.
dày,
Even
đúng
though
không?
he lives up in the Arctic, you know,
Để
he
làm gì?
stays warm because he's
Đúng
got
không?
such a good coat of hair on. He stays warm there. He doesn't look cold. He's just kind of like shuffling along like ordinary bears do. You know, and they usually eat seals under the ice. That's what they hunt. Okay, it was too cold in the Arctic. Let's move on to a wetland. A wetland is a special type of habitat because it's a mixture of water and plants or a little bit of land. A wetland is an area covered with water and plants. So wetland, sure, there's water there, but the land is not too far underneath the water. The water is not very deep. The water is usually shallow in a wetland for most of the wetland. And you could probably walk out there. The water would come up to your legs or maybe your hip or your waist up here. But you could probably walk out there because the plants are growing in the ground just under the surface of the water. And this is a wetland. A wetland is very, very important for many birds. Birds who will fly by, they will come down here. And this is a very, very good habitat for many types of birds like ducks, geese, and swans. Birds will come here and they'll be able to swim around, find food, and it's a very good habitat. Not just for birds, but for many other types of animals. And a lot of animals will live in this type of habitat. Okay. Another type of habitat is a grassland. Now, grassland, of course, there's lots of grass, but there's no water right here, right? If there's water, it's under the ground, right? You will not get wet if you go walking along a grassland. But another point about a grassland, there are no trees. So it's not a forest, it's open grassland. You can see for very far. Grassland is a large, flat area with a lot of grass. So the characteristics about grassland, no trees, it's flat, so you don't have mountains or hills. And it's large, it's a large area, it's flat, and it has a lot of grass. What lives there? Well, in the American West, a long time ago, buffalo lived on the grassland. Antelope live in the grassland. Deer live in the grassland. Lots of different animals will come by and eat the grass, okay? And they can roam and run around free without any barriers like trees or mountains or hills, okay? So that's a grassland. Now, we also have a word here. This is not a habitat, but it's kind of it's a verb to cover.
Thôi, nghe đến đây thôi. Mẹ sẽ hỏi lại con những cái con có nhớ không nhé? Nhớ không? Cái thì khó phết đấy.
Cái Arctic thì con không nhớ lắm.
Arctic là cái gì đây? Cold place near the North Pole.
The Arctic is an icy and cold place near the North Pole.
Bây giờ cái habitat. Con đọc lại cái định nghĩa này cho mẹ nghe xem nào.
Habitat. A habitat is a place where an animal lives. Forest. A forest is an area with many trees and plants. Rainforest. A rainforest is a forest with an area where it rains a lot.
Where, not where.
Where. Desert. A desert is a place that gets little or no rain. Ocean. An ocean is a very large area of salt water. Arctic. The Arctic is an icy and cold place near the North Pole.
Con có cái chỗ nào chưa hiểu không?
Không.
Con hiểu tất cả những cái từ trong đi đúng không? Có cần phải tra từ điển từ nào không?
Có từ Arctic là con chưa hiểu lắm.
Arctic. Nó là một cái địa điểm đúng không? Có lạnh này.
Cờ mà.
Chúng ta thế này.
Bắc.
Đấy, Bắc Cực mà. Gấu Bắc Cực, hình con gấu Bắc Cực đấy, con nghe thấy chưa?
Arctic,
Arctic, hình như có chữ cờ sao?
Arctic,
Arctic. Con đọc cho mẹ nghe nào.
Arctic.
Arctic,
Arctic.
Cái động vật nào sống ở Arctic?
Polar bear.
Còn con gì nữa không? Bây giờ một ốc nhớ nhá. What animal live in desert?
Is a camel.
Camel. What animal live in ocean? Easy.
Is fish.
Fish. A lot of fish. Kind of fish.
Is dolphin, shark, whale.
Rainforest. Do you know what animal live in the rainforest?
Bird.
Những con vật sống ở rainforest. Bird à? Đúng không? Con thử tìm hiểu trên Google xem nào. Trong rừng ấy này, mưa nhiều, ẩm ướt đúng không? Con gì nó hay sống trong cái môi trường ẩm ướt?
What animal live in rainforest?
In rainforest here. Mẹ cũng không biết đâu. Đây. Đây, hình ảnh luôn này. Nhưng mà chữ nó có mờ.
Elephant.
Elephant.
Leopard. African leopard.
Saltwater crocodile. Một loại cá sấu đúng không? Có cả tiger.
Butterfly.
Cũng là rất là nhiều loại.
Toucan. Gorilla.
Sống ở rainforest.
Monkey.
Đặc điểm của rainforest là gì?
It's rained a lot.
Habitat. A habitat is a place where an animal lives.
Forest. A forest is an area with many trees and plants.
Đây này, con đọc những câu này cho mẹ nghe nào. Wetland. Wetland.
A wetland is an area covered with water and plants. Grassland. Grassland is a large, flat area with a lot of grass. Cover. To cover something means to give it shelter and make it safe.
To cover something means to give it shelter. What does it mean, shelter? You know?
No.
Shelter.
Nhưng cái
you
này không
spell?
liên quan gì đến habitat hết.
Habitat là những cái này đúng không? Forest, rainforest.
Chỗ, cái này này, chỉ đến đây thôi. Còn cái này là không liên quan.
Cover thì mẹ hiểu nghĩa của cái từ này. Cover.
Che phủ.
Anh đâu mình đang tra từ khác cơ mà.
Shelter.
Shelter.
Nơi trú ẩn.
Đấy là nơi trú ẩn đây này. Và bảo vệ các con động vật đi đúng không? Có nghĩa là người ta giải thích cái từ cover thôi đúng không?
Yeah.
Cover có nghĩa là như vậy. Còn chứ không, cover nó là động từ này, to cover, chứ nó không phải là một địa điểm, nó không phải là place, đúng chưa? Vậy là có bao nhiêu địa điểm?
Habitat.
Habitat có phải là một địa điểm không?
Không, đây là môi trường sống.
Sao trong đây họ ghi đây? Is a place where an animal live.
Môi trường sống của động vật ấy thì chẳng là place where animal live.
Tức là habitat bao gồm forest, rainforest.
Vâng.
Gồm cái này đúng chưa? Wetland và
Grassland.
Wetland. Mẹ hiểu nhưng có đúng không ạ? Con hiểu wetland theo tiếng Việt là gì?
Tích ngập nước á.
Ờ.
Mẹ sẽ ngập nước. Dạ.
Không, mẹ nghĩ không phải nó như kiểu một cánh đồng nước trũng.
Xong rồi cây mọc trong đây.
Ở cánh đồng thì bao giờ cũng sẽ có cây. Forest. Con nghĩ là những con vật gì sẽ sống ở wetland?
Birds.
Bird. That's
Trong
only bird.
video thầy nói thế. Many types of birds.
Con tủ nữa nhưng mà nó một con đâu từ khi vào đấy.
Thế con đã dọn đi chưa?
Con chưa ạ.
Thế con chơi xong chưa?
Con chưa ạ.
Con chưa sáng ngồi chơi xong thì nhớ dọn vào nhá. Được không? Thì bây giờ con ra ngoài con close the door cho mẹ nhá.
Vâng.
Thank you.
Chắc hay là không chắc.
Chặt. Thank you baby. Summary. Animal in each habitat. Đây này. Đây là những con vật sống ở đây này, con nhìn thấy chưa? Sống ở wetland đây này. Alligator,
Snail, mosquito.
mosquito.
Là con muỗi.
No, close the door.
Là con muỗi.
Đây, con vật sống ở ocean thì dễ rồi này. Desert. Đọc là desert. Dễ đúng không? Nuôi camel đây.
Scorpion.
Scorpion là con gì?
Bọ cạp.
Bọ cạp. Sao con? Muộn rồi, sắp đến giờ con đi ngủ rồi. Bây giờ cháu đi đánh răng rồi nhá, đợi mẹ đi ngủ cùng con nhé. Thế thì con có muốn xem phim mà đừng làm mẹ cáu không?
Con đi chơi.
Bây giờ muộn rồi đi chơi đâu? Bây giờ hình như là con thằn lằn mẹ là như là con tắc kè. Đấy, đây là những con vật sống ở forest thì dễ rồi đúng không?
Em ở đây ạ.
Ok. Bài hôm sau Ngọc Hân sẽ làm bài tập này và học thuộc bài này nha.